Welcome to AC 24/7. I'm Aaron Dean. 5 Americans freed from Iran are now back on U.S. soil and returning with loved ones. The Advocate Channel's Laura Aguirre has more on their return.
It's home sweet home for 5 Americans back in the States after years of detention in Iran.
Families were hugging, crying. People at some points hadn't seen each other in 8 years.
U.S. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs Roger Carstens escorted the returning Americans home.
I was really struck by their strength, their resilience, their hopefulness, and their love for their country.
On Capitol Hill, many GOP lawmakers are criticizing the release of $6 billion in frozen Iranian funds and the return of 5 Iranian prisoners from U.S. custody.
Unfortunately, the deal that secured their release may very well be the latest example of President Biden rewarding and incentivizing Tehran's bad behavior.
This is a good deal. We essentially took Iranian money from a restricted account in South Korea and put it in a much more restricted account in banks in Qatar, where it's going to be monitored by the Department of Treasury, and it's only going to be used to buy humanitarian items.
For the families, the focus is now on healing and moving forward.
For the whole family, it's the greatest news we could have expected.
The uncle of one of the freed Americans, Sia McNamazzi, says it was his nephew who kept the family's spirits high during Namazi's captivity.
He was so resilient. Instead of us trying to cheer him up, he was cheering us up. He wanted to show that, look, don't worry, I'm good, I'm doing good.
All 5 are now truly doing good at home. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Democrats in Washington are taking another shot at passing a bill to protect voting rights. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act would restore some of the voting protections of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Democrats in the House say that the original Voting Rights Act has been weakened over the past decade by Supreme Court rulings in cases. This could become a key issue in the 2024 election.
Extremists are still trying to take away that sacred right to vote. Those anti-democratic forces believe their ideas are the only ones that matter. They only want to advance their ideology, strengthen their power, at the expense of everyone else's. That's why they started the big lie. That's why they waged an insurrection on our Capitol. That's why they've introduced hundreds of voter suppression bills since January 6th, because they believe the voting booth should only admit those who look and think like them.
The bill would protect voters from discrimination, especially in states that have had a history of it. According to the Human Rights Campaign, transgender people are, quote, particularly vulnerable to voting discrimination in states where a valid ID are required. Dominion's defamation lawsuit against Newsmax is now scheduled for September 2024. Dominion Voting Systems is suing Newsmax for claiming that the company rigged the 2020 election against former President Trump. Newsmax denies the wrongdoing, and Dominion is seeking $1.6 billion in damages. Rudy Giuliani's former attorneys are suing him for more than $1.3 million in unpaid legal fees, according to a complaint filed in New York State Court. Giuliani has only paid $214,000 towards his total bill. The firm worked on his now closed foreign lobbying investigation, January 6th investigation, various lawsuits, and probes that came after the 2020 election. Dramatic rescue video in Atlanta after heavy floodwater trapped the driver in his car. This video captures a police officer and firefighter trying to get the man out. And as you can see, the water was so deep, the vehicle was being lifted off the ground and the doors would not open. The officer had to use his baton to break the driver's side window. Wow, and thanks so much for joining us for AC 24/7. For more, you can go to theadvocatechannel.com and subscribe on the Advocate Channel YouTube page. For AC 24/7, I'm Aaron Dean.